following program is intended for mature audiences.
I'm going to be honest with you, bro.
I'm going to beat up John Cena.
Oh, it's a great idea. So who the hell do you think you are?
I was going to dress up like Brutus the Barber Beefcake, cutting and strutting, and then I was going to beat up John Cena. Wonderful. I mean, come on. What's more fun than beating up John Cena?
Suplex City, bitch.
Beat up John Cena!
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
And welcome, everybody, to this post-WWE SummerSlam edition of the Weekly Suplex. I am Brian Thomas, and tonight I will be all by my lonesome, but that is okay, because we are here to talk about WWE SummerSlam and a little bit about the NXT Takeover show as well. We'll talk about SummerSlam first, because that show just went off the air a few minutes ago, and we had a long night. 6.5, almost 6 hours and approximately 10 minutes of show from start to finish. If you count the pre-shows, which we will count the pre-shows on this one because that's what we do. And it was, not a bad show to talk about. There's a few things that I thought were a little bit off when they did them, but we'll get into that. First, let's start with the pre-show, because that did go down first. An early start for me. It's a 4 p.m. start for me since I'm on Central Time. And we got kicked off with the Andrade Cien Almas and Zelina Vega versus Rusev and Lana match. Overall, for what it wasn't a bad match, a pretty decent showing from all of them. Lana looked really good in the ring. She's getting better every time she wrestles. But once again, the distractions and everything else cost her the match, and it is Vega who rolls her up for the pin, uses the ropes at the end to get the leverage, and Almas and Vega take match number 1 of the pre-show. Up next on the pre-show was Cedric Alexander defending his title, the Cruiserweight Championship, against Drew Gulak. Now, I really thought that it was the time to pull the trigger on Gulak, but WWE didn't agree. Cedric Alexander goes over in the match, a very good match between the two, which I expected nothing less of that, so not a shock there. And the final match of the pre-show was the B-Team taking on the Revival for the Raw Tag Team titles. B-Team, the champions, coming in, and they get the win. I was really hoping to see the WWE give the nod to the Revival. I understand why they didn't do it, because the B-Team is pretty over, and their reign hasn't been long enough yet to really give it up to someone else. But I was hoping anyway the Revival would get it. They didn't, unfortunately, and that's okay. So that was your pre-show. That took 2 hours to get through, and now we're going to get into the main show, because there's a lot to talk about here. The main show kicks off with Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins for the Intercontinental Championship. A very good match for both of them, which, again, not a big surprise. A lot of people, including myself, expecting Dean Ambrose to turn on Seth Rollins in this match and set him up as a heel. But that didn't happen. The WWE doesn't pull the trigger. In fact, Dean was your typical partner in the corner, taking care of Drew McIntyre every time Drew McIntyre kind of tried to get involved in the match. Everything was good. The work was fantastic in this match. The psychology was good in this match. And to my surprise, Seth Rollins takes the title. Now, read into it what you will. There's a lot of talk that Dolph Ziggler's contract is now up, and this would be his final match appearance on the show. I hope that's not the case. I understand if it is for him, but hopefully it's not. But Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins, or Dolph Ziggler together, has been really good. So you kind of hope Dolph signs a new contract, and this isn't a sign that he is done for at least now. Seth Rollins does regain the Intercontinental Championship. He and Dean Ambrose celebrate in the ring. So, hey, what the heck? That's kind of what goes on. Seth Rollins takes the belt. Good match, great match, a great opener. And we always say you want to hit the show off with a great opener, and this was that match. Up next, the Bludgeon Brothers versus the New Day. This is a match I did not look forward to at all, and I kind of got a little more than I was hoping for. It was actually a really good competitive match between the two teams for a long time, so much so that Rowan decided he needed to end the match with a DQ and use his big mallet on Big E. So, unfortunately, we get a schmoz finish in this match. I guess that means we're going to have to see more New Day, Bludgeon Brothers matches in the future. I'm not my most thrilling idea of a tag team feud, but we'll see where it goes. Big E and Woods looked pretty good in this match against the Bludgeon Brothers. Bludgeon Brothers sold for him pretty well. So, what the heck? Let's keep it going, I guess. So that was your tag title match. Up next was the Money in the Bank briefcase match. So the stipulation was that if Braun loses the match in any way, shape, or form, Kevin Owens would become Mr. Money in the Bank. Well, that led to a lot of speculation, including myself, who thought maybe Kevin Owens was going to walk out of this with the belt. There are many ways he could have done it. He could have had anyone come out and attack him to cause disqualification on Braun Strowman. That would give him the champion or the briefcase and all that. But that's not what WWE did. They actually had Braun Strowman come out and basically lay waste to Kevin Owens and squash him. I mean, the immediate thoughts are that this is going to lead to Braun Strowman interjecting himself in the WWE Universal Championship match. And when we get to that, we'll talk about what happened there. Up next, the SmackDown Women's title, Carmella versus Charlotte versus Becky. And this, I gotta say, as a match, this is by far Carmella's greatest match she's had as champion. She wasn't her over-the-top self screaming and yelling at everybody. She worked really well with both Charlotte and Becky in this match. She had great moves. She did good timing. Really made you think that she could walk out of this match still champion. Both Becky and Charlotte played very well off each other, and then finally towards the end they got in on each other, and I thought the finish was actually really good with the disarmer. Becky had the disarmer on Carmella, and Charlotte came in to save it. She came in and hit the natural selection on Becky as she was doing the disarmer, covered her for the pin, and Charlotte becomes the champion. The crowd completely crapped on that, which I don't blame them. I mean, of all the people in this match to give the title to, everybody wants Becky to have that shot. Carmella, I think, should have retained. She doesn't. Instead, the one person that people didn't want in this match to win, I think, was Charlotte Flair. She wins. Nothing against Charlotte Flair. It's just I think everybody wanted something different here. And the payoff comes afterwards when Charlotte and Becky are making up, and Becky goes berserk and cold cocks Charlotte and proceeds to kick the crap out of her, and the heel turn, I guess, is on, although the crowd ate it up and actually cheered Becky, gave her a "you deserve it" chant as she walked away. So I guess Becky's the heel, but the crowd made her a face after this turn. So I wonder what WWE will do with that. If I'm them, I make Charlotte the heel and keep Becky the face and just show her as a frustrated face. I doubt they're going to do that. They're probably going to make Becky the heel. We'll have to wait and see what happens on SmackDown and the follow-up here. But I popped hard for Becky's heel turn, or Becky's turn on Charlotte. I thought that was the right move, and it sets up a great opportunity for Becky versus Charlotte for the title, and hopefully seeing Becky walk away with the championship once again. We'll have to wait and see. Our next match on the card was AJ Styles defending the WWE Championship versus Samoa Joe. This is the match that I was looking forward to the most, and it delivered big time. I know some people might be a little upset with the DQ finish, but the way that they did the DQ finish made complete sense. It worked, and it was not taking away from the match. A great AJ Styles Samoa Joe match. Nothing, you couldn't expect anything else, because these two, every time they get in the ring, are phenomenal with each other. And this is no different. Back and forth, everybody hitting their great moves. Samoa Joe sold awesomely for AJ Styles. AJ Styles obviously sold great for Samoa Joe. And it came down to the end where AJ Styles is busted open. Samoa Joe gets up on the announce table and looks at AJ Styles' wife and child who are in the crowd tonight and says, I'm sorry, I promised you that AJ Styles will be coming home after tonight, but he won't be. And it's okay, though, because I'll be your daddy. And that sent AJ Styles over the limit. He immediately went after Samoa Joe, attacked him, just brutally attacked him with some chairs. The DQ was on. It was over. And I really like the touch that they had at the end there with AJ Styles basically being held off by Fit Finlay and a few other agents, going into the crowd to his wife and apologizing for getting out of hand, apologizing to his daughter. A good touch. Just goes to show that this feud is far from over, and I am way okay with that. It was fantastically done. Great match. Elias is out next to do his concert. And I'll be honest with you, I had to take care of a few things, so I missed pretty much all of this. But I hear he broke his own guitar. That's got to have Fender pretty happy about that. So I guess we'll have to see what happens there. Up next, Daniel Bryan versus The Miz. Another match I was looking very much forward to, and another match that I think really delivered quite well. It started off a little bit slow, but once they got going, I thought it was done pretty well, pretty awesomely. I enjoyed the heck out of this match, and to have Maurice basically at ringside hand a pair of brass knuckles to The Miz while he's out on there getting attacked. And props to The Miz, because even though he's got these brass knucks, he's still taking shots from Daniel Bryan the whole time. And he ends up hitting him with the brass knucks, giving the knucks back to Maurice, and getting the cover for the 1-2-3. The Miz wins. Fantastically done match. A good finish that they played perfectly. It now sets up any scenario they want to do, which, as I laid out, I think, in our preview show for SummerSlam, I said, I would have The Miz win somehow, and then have Daniel Bryan demand that he get a rematch, and The Miz just basically put him off, saying he has nothing left to prove. He's already beaten him, blah, 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 blah. And they can drag this out a little longer. Later in the show, they showed Brie come up to Bryan in the back and kind of console him and tell him, don't let this get you, blah, blah, blah. I really like and think that they're setting up for a mixed tag match there with Bryan and Brie versus Miz and Maurice at some point down the road. I don't know when. I think if they can stretch this out far enough and get that closer to to WrestleMania next year, that's going to be the best option. But we'll have to wait and see. I know Brie wants to get back in the ring here and there, so I think that'd be a perfect way for them to do it. So we'll see what happens there. All right, so up next we had Finn Balor versus Baron Corbin, and I cannot believe they did this, but they completely wasted the Demon in this match. I like the Demon Finn Balor, and I like the fact that he brings it out only on special occasions. This, to me, doesn't feel like a special occasion. Finn Balor's already defeated Baron Corbin once. What did he have to prove coming out as the Demon? I don't get it. The match was very short. It basically, Demon came out and they played off that Corbin wasn't ready for him, and he just destroyed Corbin, got the pin. That was it. It was there. I feel bad for Finn Balor for wasting all that time. He probably spent a good hour to 2 hours putting all that paint on him for that short of a match, and honestly, they didn't need it. Balor could have come out just pissed off and beat the crap out of Corbin the same way. So I don't know. To me, it doesn't make any sense. But that's what we went with. Finn Balor gets the victory again. I hope that's finally the end of Balor Corbin, because Balor deserves to start moving in the other direction now. Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns for the title, I'm down with that, Or Finn Balor versus Brock Lesnar for the title, I'm down with that. Finn Balor versus Braun Strowman for the title, I'm down with that. Let's see where it goes. I'm okay with Finn Balor getting that Universal title shot now. That's where he deserves to be. But unfortunately, WWE just keeps putting him in weird feuds that mean nothing. Up next, Shinsuke Nakamura defends his U.S. Championship against Jeff Hardy. Again, another match that I thought was really good. I loved the playoff of each other here. Shinsuke doing his typical mocking of Jeff Hardy, and then Hardy going and throwing it right back in his face, doing his own, Shinsuke's mockery of him back to Shinsuke. I thought that was hilarious. I think that they had some good stuff going here. The match unfortunately ended too soon, but Hardy, looked great, and surprisingly, he went for a swanton onto Nakamura, who was outside on the apron. So he went for a swanton onto the apron. Nakamura moves. He hits hard. It looked painful. I hope he's okay. He's had all these back problems. I don't understand the idea of doing that move at this point, but he did it. Nakamura took advantage and basically hit the Kinshasa, rolled him up for the win, and that was it. Shinsuke wins. Solid match, I thought. Not bad. The weird part was, with Hardy out in the middle of the ring, Randy Orton's music hits. He comes down, makes it down to the ringside, and then decides that he's not going to do anything because Hardy is basically prone in the ring. So that was kind of odd. They show Orton turning around and walking back to the back. Curious of what that's going to be about. I guess we'll have to wait until SmackDown to find that out. So that's how it ends there. Up next, the Raw Women's title match, Alexa Bliss versus Ronda Rousey. And all I have to say about this is, wow. Not at all what I expected. First off, they introduced Natalya, who comes out after the very difficult week that she's had with the passing of her father less than a week ago now. She comes out, obviously, to cheer on her pal Ronda Rousey. We talked about it in the pre-show. Maybe they were going to do something where they have her turn on her, even though you kind of don't want to have fans booing her after the week that she's had. So now this has an opportunity to be set up. So Alexa Bliss comes out then next. She's introduced first as the Raw Women's Champion, which I think is kind of silly. And then out comes Ronda Rousey, looking upset as hell, looking bizarre in her really bad face paint that she had on. And she comes out with a head of steam, and she basically just demolishes Alexa Bliss the whole match. I liked the match itself. I thought it was okay for what it was. Ronda could get a little bit annoying, though, with basically telling Alexa how she's not a true champion because she's not doing anything. She's hiding and blah, 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 blah. But you know what? If you're going to make Ronda the champion and you're going to put her over as a real, true badass, this is the way to do it. She destroyed your women's champion. And props to Alexa Bliss. She's got that double joint, and she uses it in perfect spots when she does it. And today with Ronda working in the arm, she used it just amazingly to make it look like her joint popped out of place. And it looked just nasty. Nasty as heck. She ends up tapping, and Alexa Bliss is no longer champ. Ronda Rousey is your new Raw Women's Champion. So props to Juice for saying that if it were him, he'd have Ronda go into the big pay-per-view in October with Ronda as your champ. Well, there you go. You have it. What made zero sense is afterwards, Natalya comes in to help congratulate Ronda on the win, and then the Bellas come in. They had an interview earlier where they said they were going to be there watching Ronda Rousey make history, blah, 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 blah. And then they come in to celebrate with them. It makes no sense to me. I don't understand that. They didn't do anything, so it didn't even set anything up for a Nikki Bella match or whatever they're going to go with. Whatever. So that is what it was. And now it's time for the main event of the night. Universal title on the line, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns. Roman comes out first, crowd boos heavily. Brock comes out second, crowd boos. People don't like him. The introductions are made, and then out comes Braun Strowman with the briefcase, and everybody pops huge. They're excited. He gets on the mic and says, the Money in the Bank has a long history, but he's not a coward, and he's not going to talk behind these people's backs, and he's out there to tell them that he's going to sit there and he's going to watch this match, and he is going to challenge the winner of that match after it's done. which was pretty cool. So Braun gets out of the ring, stands in the aisleway to watch the match. Lesnar and Roman. Roman is looking at Braun, kind of chuckling, turns around, and Lesnar gets hit with not one, not two, not three. He gets 3 Superman punches and 3 spears, but Lesnar is able to catch Roman on the 3rd spear and put him into the front guillotine move. And I thought for sure that they were going to have Brock Lesnar get squashed here by Roman Reigns the way that he came out with a fire. But that didn't happen, and they start having a match here. Lesnar basically keeps trying to put the guillotine on Roman, make him submit, but Roman keeps powering himself up and dropping Brock down, trying to hit him with more of his moves, Superman punches, blah, blah, blah. We get some German suplexes from Lesnar, and then, Lesnar has a little with Strowman going on, and Roman goes after him with a spear. Lesnar moves, and Roman goes out of the ring and hits Braun with that spear. Braun gets up, and he's pissed. He starts looking over at Roman. Brock comes out and just takes Braun and gives him an F5 on the floor. And it's like, wow, what the heck? So then Roman gets thrown back in the ring. Brock decides he's going to go after him. Braun gets up, and Brock whacks him with the Money in the Bank briefcase a couple times. Gets a chair, whacks him with the chair. So Braun Strowman is basically taken out. At this point, he throws the Money in the Bank all the way back up to the entrance ramp. It was fantastic. He gets in the ring just in time. He's got a chair. He's getting ready to hit Roman with it, and Roman comes in, spears him, pins him. Roman Reigns is your new Universal Champion. And that's it, folks. That's how the show ends. No cash into the Money in the Bank because Brock Lesnar took care of Braun Strowman for Roman Reigns. So it's going to be really interesting now to see what they do with the Money in the Bank contract, because Braun had all intentions of cashing it in on the winner of the match. The fans actually sounded like they popped a little bit for Roman Reigns. I'll be curious to read some of the live reports to see if that was the case or if they piped that in for him. I did see people cheering in the crowd, so you never know. They could have popped because it was a title change, and title changes are exciting. They could have popped because they thought that Braun Strowman would cash in now on Roman Reigns, but Braun was out. So an interesting way to do it. I actually really enjoyed the booking that they did on the main event here. It was a good way to pop the crowd for Braun Strowman, possibility of cashing in, give him something to look forward to, stick around and not leave. And it was a good way to kind of make it not happen by having Brock take care of Braun Strowman on the outside before losing to Roman Reigns in the middle of the ring. Roman leaves the champion, which is what WWE wanted all along. They get it. And so we go from there. So overall, I thought SummerSlam was an actually pretty darn good event. I would give it probably a B+ overall. Almost everything delivered. I thought the endings were booked well on most of these matches. The only thing is I didn't care for the 2 squashes. I thought Kevin Owens deserved better than to get just destroyed and squashed. They could have done so many fun things with that match where Braun gets close to being DQ'd and has to convince the ref otherwise. Also, they could have done so much with that match and just have it be a little quick squash. Made no sense. And as much as I don't mind that Finn Balor and Baron Corbin was a squash, it felt cheap to bring out the Demon in this match, and so I kind of turned me off to that as well. And then Rousey squashing Alexa Bliss, I actually thought it was done well. I feel bad for Alexa Bliss because she is probably the best thing they have going right now in that division, and to have her have to basically look like nothing to Ronda Rousey. I get it, you're trying to make Ronda Rousey the next Brock Lesnar, the undefeatable champion, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. But I would have probably liked to have seen Alexa get a few more moves in there. That said, the match did what it was supposed to do. It made Rousey look amazingly huge in this division. It makes her look scary to have to go up against. So they did what they needed to get what they wanted out of Ronda Rousey here. And props to Alexa for going with it and being a true team player here. And she's amazing, and I look forward to another rematch, maybe hopefully down the road later this year or heading into WrestleMania next year. So we'll have to wait and see where that goes as well. So that's your SummerSlam. Overall, great card. So before I go, I do want to touch a little bit on NXT TakeOver because that was, once again, a phenomenal show. I don't think anyone thought it wouldn't be. NXT every time delivers on what they show us. So props to them for coming up again. The show was really good. Great wrestling. It started off with, as we expected, we didn't expect, but a great match from the Tag Team Championships. We had Mustache Mountain going up against the Undisputed Era, the third match in the series, and it delivered as well. I thought it was good. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. So that was good. You had Velveteen Dream defeating EC3. I was surprised by this. I don't think that Velveteen Dream really needed to, win the match. So I was a little surprised to see that he got the win, especially the way that they've been pushing EC3 and so cleanly. So props to EC3 for doing the job. He looked great in this match, and it was just another fun match to watch. So a really good way to start this. I think really good stuff coming out of that. The North American title match was next. Ricochet versus Adam Cole. Fantastic. This is probably, I would go with my second favorite match of the night here. Just a great showing by the two of them, and I was surprised. I did think Ricochet was going to win, but I was actually still surprised when it actually did happen. So props to them for giving Ricochet the belt. He's early in his career at NXT, but he's over huge with the fans, and nobody wrestles like he does. So big props to them for that. So Ricochet's the new NXT North American champion. How cool is that, huh? Up next, we had Shayna Baszler taking on Kairi Sane. This is match 3, so the rubber match between the two. Kairi won the first match, which was the Mae Young Classic from last year. Shayna Baszler won the second match from February, and since that match has gone on to win the NXT Women's Championship and really solidify herself as a decent worker now. She's gotten better every time. And so this match was something I was interested in seeing, and everybody, like Juice and I said, we wanted to see the Pirate elbow drop, and boy did we ever. I think we got 3 of them in this match. This was Shayna Baszler's best match by far since becoming the NXT Women's Champion, and probably since becoming part of NXT. She did very good. Kairi did awesome, and I was shocked that they went with Kairi Sane getting the championship. Awesome finish, awesome way to do it. They kind of did the Bret Hart Roddy Piper deal from, I believe it was WrestleMania 8, I want to say, and where basically Shayna Baszler had her in the finishing maneuver that she has, the choke out, and Kairi just flipped herself over and got her pinned to the mat for the 3 count while still in the move. Well executed, great match. Kairi very emotional. I really enjoyed the heck out of that match. So props to both women for putting on a great match. Kairi Sane is your NXT Women's Champion now. And then we go to the main event of the night. Tommaso Ciampa defending the NXT World Championship versus Johnny Gargano in, I believe this is their 4th match now. And the match they had last time was better, but this was still really, really good. They did a lot of great stuff. They made it different from their last match, which was basically the same type of thing, last man standing type thing. And they told a great story here. And, a lot of people were kind of, I guess, upset live at the finish where Ciampa was handcuffed basically to some of the equipment there. He couldn't get anywhere. And Gargano pulls the knee pad down, hits Tommaso with the knee, and then takes a nasty bump into some of the equipment and couldn't get himself up in time as the double count was going. Tommaso Ciampa, realizing where he was at, just basically falls off of the entrance ramp onto the floor, so he's standing, gets the win, remains NXT champion. I thought it was well done, and they're selling the fact that Johnny Gargano dislocated his knee, which has got to be all storyline, because if he really did dislocate his knee, there's no way he's sitting there at the end with his elbows on his knees and his face in his hands like that. That would hurt too much to do that. So props to them. A great way to finish this match. We'll see where it goes from here. There's no way that it's over now. Where does Black play into this? We'll have to wait and see how long he's out and when he comes back and how that plays into everything. And just all around, another great show by NXT. I thought both shows this weekend were great, were entertaining as heck, and they both delivered. So twice now, Money in the Bank and NXT TakeOver Chicago, and now NXT TakeOver Brooklyn and SummerSlam back-to-back have both hit home runs, I think, as far overall show presentation and value for entertainment. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed both shows if you watched them. If you didn't watch NXT, highly recommend going to the WWE Network and doing that, because if you watch SummerSlam, you've obviously got WWE Network. So go out there and take the time to watch NXT. It's way worth watching. Great wrestling, great competitors, awesome people, just real fun. And SummerSlam, worth every second of sitting there for. I was there for 6+ hours watching tonight, and I don't regret it. So that's always a good thing. So thanks for listening, guys, to our post SummerSlam show. We'll be back on Friday to get into it with Juice here a little more on what his thoughts were on the show, and then talk about whatever happened during the week. I'm sure we're going to have a very eventful Monday and Tuesday this week for both shows of Raw and SmackDown. So thanks for joining me. I look forward to talking to you again on Friday.
It is exhausting being so talented.
I'm not ready for you!
You are not even worth my time.